Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi Showbie with me, Richard Vobes, and it's nice to be here on a Tuesday for a change. We're not normally here on a Tuesday. I didn't know the studio looked like this. It's been a while. Well, the last lockdown, wasn't it? Had to come in and get rid of all the cobwebs. The Tuesday cobwebs, it's amazing. By Wednesday, it cleans itself up somehow miraculously by itself. But come Tuesday, when normally this is an idle studio, I think Eric sometimes comes in and plays with his pocket tarantula. I believe that is why that the place is strewn with all the weird lace that makes you think it's Halloween all over again, but of course it isn't. So there was I with mop and bucket going around trying to get rid of it all to make it all nice and Bristol fashion, as they say, misses. And here we go with a nice, bright, sunny, jolly old Tuesday show. The antidote to lockdown. I shall be so sad when lockdown is over, ladies and gentlemen. For what will I do with myself? I'll have to go back to the normal 3-day a week, working, slaving, hardly away, with those 2 extra days in the week with me twiddling my thumbs, or possibly reading books, or catching up with emails, or doing something else that I ought to be doing, like hoovering or tidying or, I don't know, something. Whatever it is. Anyway, it is Tuesday, and you are very welcome to join me on this hour. We're doing about an hour each night, all week until Saturday and Sunday, and I am having those days off, ladies and gentlemen. I'm having them off. Let's find out who is out there in the old Vobosphere. And straight away, the Green Man is there. Good evening to you, Mr. Green Man. Very nice to see you. All in luscious verd. Is it verd? That may be French for green. The lovely Julia, of course, is there. Hello to you. And Ed Lau, Ron Langley, Nigel Sadler, Audrey Forbes Hamilton, Josephine Suter. Maybe seeing you tomorrow, young Josephine, taking you into the Black Mariah for a quick instant, or not quite so instant, depending on how quickly the canister of gas goes, coffee or tea. We have both. Probably have to remember to bring some milk. Might be a question of bring your own tea bags. No, actually, there are tea bags in it. Graham Cass, nice to see you. Enjoyed the reading earlier. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say so. Kerry Baldwin, Nigel Sadler may have said that. Nice laid-back music. We wanted a bit of chilled music in the show for everybody. Oh, I've just pressed the button. It's not doing it. Fair enough. And Ernie Samet, good evening, Julia. And viewers, good evening, Tally-ho, Richard, watching you. Is it your birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ernie. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday down there in Dorset. 'Tis Dorset, not Devon. I made that mistake last time. Peter Lowry. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you, Peter. Thank you for joining us. And Darren Howell, Linda Kay, Nigel Sadler again, Andrew Norris, what ho. Merritt Genealogy from Adelaide. Good day, dear Cobber. Overcast, 15 degrees centigrade, large thundercloud and lightning. Thundercloud? What's a thundercloud? I haven't got my thundercrackers on. Thunderstorms and lightning. Overnight with showers, expecting 27 degrees centigrade. Because it's summer down where you are. That's right, Cobber. Summertime, and the living is easy. Things are jumping and the cotton is high. Yes, Cleo Lane, eat your heart out. I can smash a glass with my voice and a hammer. Clive Waterfall, lovely to see you. Michael White, nice to see you too. Mike Stevens, on vert, oui, oui. Aha, bonjour, oui, oui. Etc., etc. Andrew Murphy is there, Mark Donny McLeod, and he's scanning down to see Elaine Whitlock down the bottom. Hello, Richard, and thank you for your commitment to us all. Yes, it is such a commitment, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I could just lie back in my bed and have a well-deserved snooze, but no. Lockdown is there to be, for me to be here, to be trying, attempting, making the effort, learning my craft. I think of this as an apprenticeship to entertain. And sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes not so good at it. I haven't quite mastered it, so you have to keep going, don't you? When you've mastered it, that's the time you stop. He's a part-time weatherman, says Mike Stevens. He is. He did it very well, I have to say. What else we got? Kerry Baldwin, happy birthday, Ernie. Happy birthday. Stephen says he's committed. Yeah, I'm committed, all right. It's just they haven't caught me. That's the thing. Just don't tell them I'm here. Otherwise, it's the old white jacket for me. White jacket? Well, straight jackets are generally white, aren't they? Or sort of cream or off-white. Or that you don't, get a nice purple striped one, purple and pink striped straight jacket, do you? Not often. And if you do, would it be a straight jacket? Would it be a striped jacket? Yeah, a straight striped jacket. Could be taken on holiday. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. Now, here's a question for you, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I'd put some semi-serious questions for you today. So question number one, I was watching something on the Tube of Views, as you do, when I was cooking my little shriveled piece of toast with some tomatoes on it. Tomatoes on toast with a slab of cheese in the middle. It's very nice. Thank you very much for asking and thinking about my welfare. That's very kind of you. And whilst I was doing it, I was watching this thing, and it was, I don't know why it came up. It was the Spectator TV with Andrew, what's his name? Andrew Neil. Very interesting chap. Very, what's the word? Very, yeah, you know the word I'm trying to find. I can't find it. Something fell out of my. You've been playing with my lexicon again, Eric. Anyway, Andrew Neil was interviewing some variologist or some statistician. So I don't want to specifically talk. I don't want to sort of lower the conversation down to the COVID level. But here's the question. All over, this is like not just about COVID or anything. It's about stuff in general. So don't get worried. If those of you are going, oh no, not a bloody COVID show. It's not a COVID show. Not a COVID show. But the question I want to know is, how do you know that anything is true? Who do you trust? Who do you trust anymore to give you things that are correct? I mean, the COVID thing is something where we can see lots of people come out with lots of different ideas. There's conspiracy theories, there's the mainstream media, there's the government, and then there's lots of other people who are professional who go, well, I don't believe that's not quite true. Not 400,000 deaths or 222 heartbeats to a minute. Where are you getting your information? How do you, as a lovely person out there in the world, how do you now base anything on any question? Not necessarily this virus nonsense, but anything. On anything. When you want to look something up, you go online and go, oh yeah, it says it on Wikipedia. But we know that anybody can edit Wikipedia willy-nilly. Can they not? Anybody can go on there and go, oh yes, according to all known sources, Stonehenge was put up by a series of earthquakes in the Middle Ages, and coincidence happened that they fell into a circle. Scientists suggest that it was to do with ritual, but actually a spaceship lands on it and there has been scraped off the carbon deposits of Martians. So, anybody can edit anything. So I want to know, how do you work out what's true? I mean, when I went to school, we had textbooks, and textbooks seemed to be all right. But now you've got these revisionist historians that say things like, well, Churchill got it all wrong. Churchill was horrible. Churchill was a racist. Churchill was this. And you just go, oh, God, is that true? How do we know? How do I know? So this is the question I want to pose. How do you know anything is true? What now influences your judgment? How do you make that judgment? What is it that gives you the conviction that maybe you're following things that are correct? And what the hell are they teaching kids at school? How do they know that whatever the teachers tell them is accurate now? And are they teaching kids anything that is of any use, or are they showing kids how to utilize the internet to actually work out what is fact or fiction? I mean, Donald Trump famously kept talking about fake news, and we know that there is some fake news, but what is fake and what isn't fake, and how do you know the difference? I mean, obviously some things are 100% fake. I had a phone call, again, it was spam, certain of that, when I was filming with the lovely Julia, and it was in one of the videos, and up comes this thing saying, "Oh yes, we have a fraud thing on your HMRSC, the tax people, whatever they're called," and they said you've got to talk to this bloke because there's fraud on your case and you could be whatever. And I thought, I'm not going to, they didn't say who I was. They didn't know my name. They just had the number. They would have to give me my reference, my tax reference number, and they would have to be able to know whether I was self-employed or PAYE or combination of both or none of the above, which, of course, they couldn't possibly say. So I wasn't going to answer that because I didn't think that HMRC, that was the initials I was looking for. I didn't think for one moment that they would ring up on an automated robot going, "If there is a fraud on your case, press 1 to speak to a person, press 2 to be exterminated. Oh, we've given it away." So how do you know what's true? Here we go. Let's find out. Michael White says, if it lines up with critical race theory, it's wrong. Yes, well, what is critical race theory? Is it just criticising race? Now, I didn't think you were allowed to criticise race. I thought that was the number one thing that we're not supposed to do, because otherwise, who knows which lives matter and which ones don't? And that begs never mind certain lives matter, which one don't matter? That's what I want to know. And how do you know whether that's true or not? Josephine says, I wish I bought shares in Pfizer. Yes, I wish I bought shares in Tizer. Actually, it's a much nicer thing. Are you prepared to take the vaccine? There's a question for you. Are you prepared to turn into a guinea pig? Would you take it? A vaccine that's just come out the woodwork like that when most vaccines take years? I don't know. What do you think? Audrey Forbes says, if it looks like ducks and quacks like a duck, yes, it might not be a duck. There are decoy ducks, are there not? What else have we got there? Pfizer had to give $50 million to Africa for killing Nigerian children with their drugs. Well, that goes to show. I wonder how much they will give to more dead people. Were the people alive when they gave them to them, or did they go, here's £50 million. You're not moving. You have to take it out of my hand. Look, lying on the floor and not breathing is not going to help. Either you take the money or you... Right, I'm taking it back then. Oh, well, as far as we're concerned, and I've told the press we gave you the 50 million, but if you can't be bothered to get up and take it from me, then I'm sorry. Clearly, it's a sign that you don't want it. How rude. Nigel Sadler, my son seems to use the internet to find the answers to his homework. I've seen him copy it out verbatim, and he's only 13. He's a wise boy, isn't he? He'll be one of these that will buy the diploma to say that he actually got all his GCSEs and his PhDs and his master's degree and all of that, and he'll only be 14. What a clever chap, I think. But Elaine Whitlock says, just believe what I want to believe and ditch the rest. Ultimately, isn't that the situation? We just have to go, well, I think it makes some sort of logic to me, therefore it's right. It may be wrong. But if we go back in time, if we had a little time machine and we could make the screen wibbly wobbly like they used to do in the old feature films. Do you remember the feature films where they used to make it go wibbly wobbly? That was a technology you just don't see anymore, do you? That wonderful technology. I think it was called cross-channel interference, but never mind, that's a different thing. And in the old days, in those films when it went wibbly wobbly, people in little villages and what have you, they only had a snitchet of gossip, but it never worried them, did they? They thought the world was flat, they thought the moon was made of cheese, but they still got out to work and ploughed the fields and scattered. I don't know what they scattered, ploughed the fields and scarper. They ploughed the field, come on, let's, before anyone notices, which was not really very helpful because they were the ploughmen. And he's like, where's the bloody ploughman gone? He's ploughed the field and scarpered. That's no good. He's supposed to go out there the next day and chuck some old seeds on it. TurboStream says, I went down the vaccine list, but will not be having it. I'm well down the vaccine. Well down. Oh, Brazil has banned the vaccine, for an adverse reaction. How do we know this? How do we know any of this is true? This is my question. You know, on the one hand, they say they've got the vaccine, and that's very all laudable, and it sounds great. But how do we know it's good? How do we know it's not good? Why do we suppose that it would be bad? Let's look on the positive side. Why not believe the government when they tell us to lock down? Why not believe the flat earthers when they say the earth is flat? They've all got some weird sort of logic. Why not believe that the Moonies were correct? But how do we know? How do we work out? This is. I know this sounds a bit daft, and you may be going, "What's he on about? What is that bald bloke with the yellow jumper on about tonight? Has he been taking too many yo-yo pills?" No, I haven't. I can't get them down. They keep coming up. Michael White says, does no one look anything up in books? But what books? How do you know now? This is the problem. In the old days, did you not have faith that the books were checked by the publisher and that if anything was wrong, somebody somewhere would have said, "Oh, no, mate, that's all wrong. Yeah, no, you can't put that in a book. You can't." Whereas now people can self-publish. The publishers are desperate to sell the books. They haven't got time to go and read it through and check it. Does it sound all right? Yes, sounds all right. He knows what he's talking about, isn't it? Yeah, of course he does. How do we know that the books that you have published in the last 10, 20 years are actually accurate, that any of it is true, as opposed to stuff that... And how do we know that the stuff in the past is wrong? Very often we get these updates, don't we? You know, somebody will say that Tutankhamun died in a terrible car accident when his horn got stuck. And then somebody else will say, no, that's not the story at all. How do we know which one is actually true? How do we know that the new science, when they find things out in archaeology or whatever the science is, how do we know that actually that is true? How do we know that Piltdown Man was actually not real? Just because a couple of people said, "Oh, we mocked it up, actually." What if they hadn't mocked it up? Anyone thought of that? If Piltdown Man wasn't actually mocked and they found it, and a couple of bright sparks thought, we could make a lot of money on this, couldn't we? We'll pretend we've mocked it up when it's actually a real thing, but we'll pretend we've mocked it up, and people go, "Oh, no, it's all mocked up. Look, it's just an old thigh bone from a chicken. If only we'd got it right." Oh, they could have just looked at that and gone, "Yeah, we'll just pretend we mocked it up." And then there'll be books on how did we mock it up. Well, Ray, how did we mock it up? I don't know. We'll think of something. We've got an old chicken and we twisted it round a bit, or we grow a fetus in a balloon bag and chuck it on some earth and say that the rubber perished on it, and that's what made the Piltdown. How do we know? How do we know? That's my question tonight, ladies and gentlemen. How do we know? We've got some videos to play in the show a little bit later on, so hold your horses there. We've got a bit from TurboStream, fantastic video from TurboStream, and a fantastic, absolutely accurate and nigh on not absolutely believable book review from Peter Lowry. We know those books that Peter Lowry has in his very special cabinet. We know that they have been printed by God, and so they must be true, obviously. So we've got all of that lot coming up in the show, ladies and gentlemen. John Morris says, if they can force a lockdown, they can do anything. Well, imagine if they can force people. You can put that into your thing just for one moment. If the government can force people to willingly not go into work, not leave their house for a few things by telling you that there is a problem, what other things could they do? I mean, how do we know any of this is true? I mean, you might obviously have somebody who died or a friend or whatever from it, then you might have a bit more of a suspicion. But not everybody's in that boat. Some people will think, well, I don't know, maybe none of this is true. Kerry Baldwin says, lockdown? What lockdown? Yeah, well, that's it. That is the thing. Turbo Seams says, plenty of folk in my locality. Last time the streets were empty. Yes, I mean they've only shut hairdressers, haven't they? Hairdressers and the fly fishing shops. I think that's all they've shut down, because everything else. Oh, and a pub or two. Henry's Adventure says, I still buy old VHSs for 50p, and so a Heritage Railway of heritage railways for my research. Ah, yeah, because anything on digital format is obviously open to misappropriation, isn't it? It's open to manipulation, a bit of photoshopping. Whereas VHS, you cannot fake a VHS. That is the essence of authenticity. In fact, I am thinking of replacing this camera with an old VHS camera and one of those SVHS plugs, you know, the red, yellow and black. And then at least you know there can be no funny business. There's nothing funny in this show at all. But there's no funny business going on. It's all authentic because not only that, you'll get that black bar rolling up. There'll be a bit of snow at the beginning and a bit of dropout from time to time. And on very, very rare occasions, the tape will even snap. What else have we got there? My Welsh wanderer, Jason Patrick, says, "Hi, Richard. Here to celebrate to get out there by Castle. Gave me 300,000 health restrictions after the show." No idea what that means, but it sounds brilliant. I used to look it up in Encyclopedia Britannica, says David Mills. Whatever happened to Encyclopedia Britannica? Did Wikipedia put it out of business? Did the internet put an end to that? My mum, when I was a kid, we had these whole series of red books, the Children's Encyclopedia, which was a sort of dumbed-down version of the Encyclopedia Britannica. And they used to have those salesmen, didn't they? Do you remember that? Knowledge was delivered to your door. Hello? Oh, hello. Would you like to buy an encyclopedia? No, not really. We're watching Thunderbirds on the telly. Oh, who can that be? Hello? Would you like to buy an encyclopedia? No, no, thank you. We've got the Magic Roundabout on the telly. Oh, for goodness sake. How much are your sodding encyclopedias then? £250. I'll have the set. Now, bugger off. And of course, the encyclopedias, there were quite a number of them. And if you divided them up equally by 4, you could put a little plank of wood on them, made a nice table. Perfect. Michael White says, me neither, Audrey. I read that completely without any knowledge of that. Ron Langley is saying something, and let's go down there and see. John F says they're online, I think. Are they? Are they actually? Is the Encyclopedia Britannica on? Who uses the Encyclopedia Britannica? It must, these old businesses, they must be out of date. But they've done a lot of the research. You can imagine a team at Wikipedia are just sitting there copying out the stuff that the Encyclopedia Britannica has spent years copying out from somewhere else. After all, everybody copies everybody else, don't they? They all copy each other. So there'll be people sitting there saying, oh, this is what happened about such, and they'll publish that, and somebody will go, oh, well, we'll just reword it and publish it, and then somebody else will get that article. And it's like Chinese whispers, isn't it? Isn't it? That's just the same as who knows what anything is true. News Start 19 says, when you did your years ago videos, yes, i.e. Lewis, when you were running and jumping around all over the place, how do we know you are the same Vobes? It's a good question. It may not be true because actually, you may notice, I am slightly older than those days. I may be a different person. Whereas the person in those videos, if you notice, hasn't aged. Hasn't he? You can go back and watch that and he remains the same. It's almost as if he's not human. Michael White says history is always written by the victors, unless, of course, the people who were the losers did have managed to scrape together a pen and some sheets of paper. They may have written it, said, well, they duffed us up and killed us all apart from me. Oh, now they're running after me with spears. Might have been a very short book, that one, but, easier to digest, really. Josephine Suter says, I don't know, but you're on Wikipedia. I am on Wikipedia. Somebody opened a page, a young person opened a page when I used to do my old Vobes Show thing and did a Wikipedia entry for me. Because you could just do that back then. You could just open, I don't know whether you can still do that. Anyway, it was written so atrociously I was embarrassed to read it, so I was able to go in and edit it and correct the facts, but I didn't actually start it. That's an honest God's, that's the truth. Though how can you tell? I may have made that up. I could have just, everything I say could be a complete and utter lie. But then I believe in the philosophy of Philip Mercer. He knows a thing or two, and obviously anything he says is true. But somebody set up the Wikipedia, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but it was so badly written because it was written by an enthusiastic young person, and I had to go in there and just rewrite it. And I think somebody else has gone in there and tweaked it from time to time. But, you know, anybody can go in there and correct it or add things to it, which is a bit dodgy, isn't it? The encyclopedia is available online, says Julio. Hello, Julio, in Mexico. Nice to see you out there. It is £65 a year. Gosh, with extra information going into it, you'd think it would get heavier, wouldn't you? But only £65. That's not bad. I wonder how much information actually weighs. You know, if you were to add more information into a book, how much does information weigh? Can you measure information by the ounce? Has anyone thought of that? Is that information? I've got some information for you. Oh yes. How many ounces is it? Oh, it's a pound's worth. A pound in weight? Yes, it's a good pound in weight. Ah, interesting. Here's a question for Josephine Suter. Do you still sell any of your meat in pounds and ounces? Oh, I'm having an alert here. Everybody likes a good alert. Please get off. You are boring me senseless. Yes, certainly. Don't worry. At 9 o'clock, I'll be right off. That Rami Boo says, we still have an encyclopedia set. My mum tried to give them to my brother because she thought his kids might use them at school. But he told her they do everything online. Can you imagine that, being a kid now and being given a book with knowledge in it, as in an encyclopedia? Can you imagine the comeback that you'd get from the kid who'd go, how do you update it? I can't play the videos. The little etches, the photos, they're all black and white. Can you imagine? They can't scroll to the next. They've actually got to, sorry lad, you've got to turn the page. Turn? What, all that effort? I can't lift a page. Not a whole page. Not that I can manage to do a corner, but I can't lift a whole page. Yes. In the old days, we used to turn pages of these bloody things in books. But now we just, can use our fingers to scrolly. It's amazing technology. It's amazing. How lazy have we got? We can no longer lift a whole page. Dear, oh dear, don't tell everyone. Julio says, I read it takes 7 years approximately for all the cells in your body to be replaced, so you are not the same Vobes from back then. Yes. Well, what can I say to that to counteract those 7 years? All the cells in my body. I don't know that all the cells in my body were all there to begin with, to be fair. I think some of the cells, maybe up there, the little grey ones, were never there. So, if they are there now, you've got a better Vobe than you had before. Look after him. Thank you, viewers, says Ernie Sammet, fans and Vobesters, patrons and newcomers, because after all, it's Ernie Sammet's birthday. Yippee! I think we should break for a video. And in today's video, we've got 2 videos. The first one, we're going out into the autumn colours with our friend TurboStream, good old Adrian.
Well, good morning, Vobesters. This morning when I film this, at least. So I'm just on my bike up the Waisley Hills, and I thought I'd show you this wonderful view we've got. It's autumnal landscape. It's beautiful autumnal Wednesday morning. And this is the view behind me. This is called the Millennium Plantation. So I assume it was planted in the millennium. Can I say the word millennium? Millennium? Millennium. And this is the view towards the Birmingham city centre and Franklin Beaches. We'll do a quick pan out. So this is the southwest of Birmingham. And that's over towards the Lickies. I do like the way the light plays along the landscape at this time of year in this little valley we've got. It's looking towards the Malverns and the Aberley Hills. What a stunner of a day. I thought I'd share that with Richard. And with that, it's back to the studio.
Oh, how wonderful is that? So nice to be out there in the autumn. Autumn is one of my favourite times because you just get a little bit... I mean, it's difficult sometimes to film in the autumn because of the low sun, but you just get the wonderful colours. You get the warmth of the sun, you get the warmth of the leaves on the trees, and just the multitude of different colours. It makes a change from everything being green. It's just fantastic. And then, of course, when it all dies around, you're ready for that whole new green burst and the blossom and everything. I think it's a lovely sort of period of seasonal work going on. Wesley would like me to wish Daisy a happy birthday. Daisy Morgan, happy birthday to you. It's very nice that you share your birthday with Ernie Sammet. How about that? Happy birthday to you, diddly pom. Happy birthday to you, diddly pom. Happy birthday, don't wear a diddly pom, diddly pom, diddly pom. Happy birthday, Daisy, to you, do-do-do. Ah, there we go. What did you get for your birthday? I want to know, if it's your birthday, what have you got? What has your other half or other friends, what is exciting, unique thing have you been given on your birthday? And we widen this argument, this debate, this sensational conversation out. What is the best favourite thing or the most memorable thing that you've had on your birthday that somebody has gone out of their way to give you? Now, I know, cakes and socks and all those usual stuff, but what is the most unusual thing on your birthday? And it might be just a gift. It might be a gift of anything. What is the most unusual gift that you've ever had? Even if it's not on your birthday. Let's forget about birthdays for a moment, because everybody has a birthday. But let's take it wider than that. In the entire life that you've been on this planet, or even on another planet, or in a dream, doesn't really matter. Who cares? But what is the most unusual gift that you've been given ever in your entire life? I would like to know that. I remember I had a gift from my father when I was a little bit younger, and when he was alive. He hasn't been giving me much since he's been dead. And it was in a box. It was in a box, this item. And I managed to peek at the box before I opened the wrapper, and I saw it had the word Sennheiser on it. And I was elated. I thought, this is unlike my father, who is was a bit of a skinflint. And I was unlike him. Sennheiser was the name, and is the name, of a very reputable microphone company. They make some amazing... And I thought, because it was a long box like this, I thought he had splashed out a huge amount of money on a 486, 464, I can't remember, 848, a microphone. The standard 486 seems to ring a bell. 481, 841. Oh, what is it? 864, 641, 848. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's a model of a microphone that they use on film sets, up and down. It's the most professional microphone, the most used microphone, and people in it. 416, I think it is, or 461. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm sure that Nigel Sadler knows the one I mean. And anyway, I thought it was in this because it said Sennheiser, and I thought, he's, and he knew I was into filmmaking, and he's bought me this incredible professional microphone, which was probably worth, back then, we're talking about 500 quid. Now it's about 800 quid. Yes, is it that 461 Ocean Boulevard? No, it wasn't that. Anyway, it wasn't that. It was something really naff and really boring, but he'd put it into, where he'd got the box from, I'd no idea. But it was a Sennheiser box, but it wasn't that. And that was the hugest, baddest disappointment. But if it had been real, it would have been probably, for me, because of who it was from, would have been the best present ever. Mike Stevens says his best present was a telescope. I remember getting a telescope. What a lovely thing that is to get. I remember having my adenoids out and my tonsils, and my father, when I was 10, and I was in hospital, in Horsham Hospital, It was a rifle mic. Yes, Nigel said. I'm sure it was like a 486, 4461. It's got a 1 in it. I'm sure it's got a 1 in it. It's the standard microphone. Sennheiser 486, something like that. I can't remember what it is. 416, that's it. MKH 416 shotgun microphone. Yes, it's about £800. If I remember rightly, that's used on all the film sets up and down the land. They probably updated it a bit, but it is a very expensive microphone. But it's robust. You can throw it about. You could probably stir your soup with it. Anyway, I was giving them. We got a phone call. Forgot about the phones. Yes, the phones are open. By the way, did you know? And let's find out who's on the line. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where'd you come from? And what's the inside leg measurement?
Hello, it's Richard from up in Cumbria.
Hello, Richard from up in Cumbria.
My inside leg measurement's about 32, I think.
Oh, same as mine. Well, actually, maybe a bit big. Mine's 31, which is very difficult when you're buying trousers. You've either got to add a bit on or cut a bit off.
Yeah, or turn-ups.
Yeah, or turn-ups, yeah, of course.
Yeah, showing our age now.
Yeah. I bet they're back. They'll be back, won't they, turn-ups?
Oh, yeah.
And
especially when you've got pants that are too big.
Yes, I'm sure. So, yes, what's the best present that you've ever been given, Richard?
Anish told me to ring up and tell you, so I better tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a glider flight for my 50th birthday.
Oh, a glider flight.
A glide, yeah.
What was that like? Because it's on your own, not solo, surely. You weren't cut loose and then just left. And Anis going, thank God, I can claim on the insurance now.
Well, I think that may be what was behind it. No, man, the first thing they gave us was a parachute before we got into it.
It's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
But apparently it was standard procedure. But no, we were. It was off Sutton Bank in North Yorkshire, just near Thirsk.
Oh, right.
And it was one of the enclosed gliders. Like the there's a
with the
there was
bubble.
The pilot.
Yeah.
The pilot actually sits in the back, and he lets you have a go at the controls when you're up. But it was one of them things I always wanted to do. We used to watch them. I used to think it'd be really nice up in one of them. I bet it's great gliding around and just hearing the just the wind noise, no engines or anything like that. And,
so, Joe, did you hear wind? Because when I went in a hot air balloon, you couldn't hear the wind because you were actually going with the wind. But I guess a glider is. I mean, you still must be going with the wind, but flying on the thermals, aren't you?
Yeah, well, they weren't normally. If the wind was coming from the west, I think they winched them up. Like when you pull a kite up.
Yeah.
They use like a powered winch, but because the wind was in the other direction, we got pulled up by a tug, an aeroplane, and that was quite exciting because you were right behind the other plane, and then you just hear like a thud when he cuts the
rope.
Cuts the line loose, and then you can hear the wind whistling over the canopy and over the wings and everything.
Wow!
And, it's really. It had like one of the things that interested me was on the windscreen there was like a little piece of like a shoelace, just on the outside of all the instruments, but there's this little shoelace on the outside of on the front windscreen.
Right.
And what he said was it actually helps to tell you if, to prevent you from stalling if your instruments failed or anything, because as long as there's wind passing forwards, it's blowing the little lace upwards.
Oh,
but if it flops down, you could stall. So.
Right. So, and when you say stall, I mean, there's no engine, is there?
No, I think what it means by stall, if you haven't got enough forward momentum to give it lift,
right,
the plane just like drops out of the sky,
like a
basically.
Stone. Yeah.
Which
bit scary.
Parachute. I had a parachute though.
Yeah, but you've got to get out the cockpit, presumably. I mean, you've got the parachute and the thing is falling down. It's like, oh my God, you've got to surely fight gravity a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah.
Or do they eject you?
No, apparently what the procedure was, he said, if we go up in the unlikely, it's always in the unlikely event.
Yeah, it's always unlikely,
in the unlikely event of an emergency, what will happen? I think basically what they've done, they ejected the glass bubble, and it inverted the plane, I think.
Oh, and you sort of topple out.
he showed me how. He says, you press that button there, that'll release your safety belt. And he says, when you fall out, if you need to fall at the plane, you count to, is it like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and then you pull your ripcord.
Oh my goodness!
And he says, and I'll see you on the ground for coffee. But fortunately, it never came to that. So.
No, because it's very unlikely any of that will ever happen to anybody.
Yeah,
at
but
any
it was
time.
really nice, really good experience. I really enjoyed
So
it.
no fear at all.
No, it was really good. But I've heard about people who've been up in the hot air balloons, and they say that you can really, you can hear sounds travelling up, can't you? You know, you can hear people on the ground and.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is the hot air balloon. I mean, I've done that, and it is an amazing thing because that business about hanging in the air is exactly what you're doing, because you're traveling, you're floating with the breeze, so that no wind ever hits you because you are the wind. In effect, you're just going with it.
Yeah.
And of course, the only thing that mars it, you just get used to this wonderful, silent, serene thing, and then the pilot is going.
Yeah.
And you just get, burnt to a cinder. That's how I lost my hair. When I went up, there were 3 pilots because one of them was taking his test. And so there was a pilot who was doing the test with him, and then there was a spare pilot should anything go wrong, and he would take over. But effectively, there were 2 pilots and somebody who was pretty much going to be a pilot.
All right. Yeah.
So we were well supported, except that, of course, if you needed to lose a little bit of weight, we'd have to chuck the pilots out first.
Not the qualified one, though.
Yeah. Who's the heaviest? You. Well, I'm the qualified. Never mind that. Over. Dear.
But it is nice. I think it's almost like sailing in the air, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And people, absolutely love the flying vibe. So I want to know what's Annis's best gift. If that was a glider to you, what's Annis's best gift?
Oh, Annis, she can tell you that. I don't know. I'll pass her over.
Yeah, pass her. She wasn't expecting that, was she?
No. Right, I'll just
get her own back now.
Hello,
Annis.
Hello.
So you put Richard in the spot, and very kindly he's rung up and he told us about this glider. What's the best gift that you've ever had?
I think that would be a book, but it was sort of like a memory book.
Oh.
That our daughter got me. That was for my 50th as well.
A memory book.
She went round family and friends, and they wrote a message to me, and she put photos in and memories.
So sort of a This Is Your Life type book.
Yeah.
Do you remember This Is Your Life with Eamon Andrews?
I do, yeah.
This is your life. And so, Annis, this is your life.
Yeah, I remember that when it was like sort of 70s, wasn't it?
I know, when it first came out, and he would just come out in his little grey suit and be standing there. So a memory book. Well, that's wonderful. That is lovely.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a surprise.
Yeah. And everybody had put they had to say nice things. They couldn't put.
No, of course, that's right. Oh, yeah, and I'd just like to remind you, Anne, it's that time when you did this dreadful thing. No, don't mention that, please. They can't. Obviously, they can't say that. They have to. They wait till you've gone, and then they can come out with all the dreadful things. But I'm sure there's nothing dreadful that anyone would say about you.
No.
There you are. I see.
I'm so nice.
That's right, you are. Well, you support the show, so you must be, you and Richard up there. What's the climate doing up in Cumbria at the moment, where you are?
Yeah, it's wet.
Is it wet?
It's usually wet up here, so, but it's.
Weren't you in North Wales, in Anglesey?
No.
Oh, I must have got that wrong. I thought maybe it's somebody else. I got confused then. So you've been in. How long have you been in Cumbria?
Well, Richard's been here all his life.
I see.
Moved about a bit and kind of settled here when I met Richard.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, I for some reason, because I always kept thinking, oh, you're in Anglesey, but it must be somebody else. I've so easy to get
Yeah.
confused with whom's where and what's what.
Yeah.
But, easy to do that. So a glider thing. And is there a gift that you would like that you've not had yet?
No, I don't.
You're easily pleased, are you?
I'm easily pleased.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
okay.
think, yeah.
Well, there's always something, isn't there? Well, with most people, there's always something which, in an ideal world, wouldn't it be nice too? Whether that's a cruise around the world or a trip to the moon or, something in an ideal world. But you're just quite content.
Yeah, I think we've been lucky. We've had we've done a little bit of travelling, and we're just happy now to get out and walk and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for ringing in on the show.
Yeah. I'll get him to ring in again.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I keep trying to think of ways to get people to ring in, and it's not a difficult thing, is it?
No, it isn't. No.
Yeah, brilliant. There we are. You heard it from the lovely Anis and Richard. It's not a difficult thing to ring in on the Vobes Show,
No.
so let's hope people do.
This morning.
Yeah,
It was
fantastic.
nice to speak to you. I'll let Richard say goodbye.
Okay, that's nice. Well, look after yourself. Have a good evening, Anis.
You too. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, nice to talk to you again. I'll catch you again soon.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for calling in. It was lovely to have both of you on the show on a Tuesday.
Yeah, on a Tuesday. Yeah, okay, right. Thanks very much now.
No worries. You look after yourself, and thanks a
Will
lot.
do.
Bye-bye.
Right, see you now.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go. The lovely Richard and Anis up in Cumbria. Nothing to do with Anglesey. I don't know why I had that in my head, but there we are. So a glider. Brilliant idea. Would you like to go up in a glider? Are you frightened of flying? You've got somebody behind you. Actually, I should have asked Richard, what's it like? Because you've got the pilot behind you. There must be times when you're thinking, oh, I'm actually on my own. Oh, no, Ray is still sitting there. And if you look round, you found that he had actually jettisoned himself and had forgotten to tell you, or the comms didn't work. And he went, oh, crikey, it's too much. If somebody was a bit of a slight mental disorder and gone up, oh, I've had enough of this. Poof, he flew off. And you're merrily sitting there going, oh, this is so look at that down there, all these people. Here, Ray, what time? What? Oh, my God. A life moment. It's amazing, isn't it? What else have we got in here? Kerry Baldwin says, I admired a badger painting in a shop I walked past every day for months. Then a week before Christmas, it disappeared. I was heartbroken, but my other half had bought it for me. Oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Mike Stevens says, I like sheep and I am in the family. Oh, are you? Audrey Vobes has retracted her message, but Turbo says, I think my best present to myself was my camper van. It's provided me with some great memories so far. Yes, yes, I can absolutely concur. And Dean Cooper says, I've been up in a balloon twice. You had to cover your head to protect it from the heat from the burners. It was an amazing experience floating about in the wind. That's interesting. We didn't have to cover our heads or wear helmets or anything. Maybe we were in a bigger basket and further from the thing. Nigel Sadler says, wrong Cumbrian. Yes. Turbo Stream says, the best gift you can give somebody is time. I think that's so true with children. I also think that's probably true elsewhere. But small children, how some people would just keep giving them things to occupy, but what they want more than anything else is their parents. Days of Yours says, a trip to the moon on a gossamer wings. Yes, that would be nice. Although you probably need, a whole set of breathing apparatus and lots of food and all those sort of bits and bobs, which would be good. Turbo says, I don't like the idea of hot air balloon. I'm not a great flyer. What about a microlight? I've been in a microlight as well, ladies and gentlemen. I have been in a microlight. I've done the microlight that has the hang glider thing over the top of it. It's basically a lawnmower with a giant kite. And I've done the other one, which is a parachute with a motor another lawnmower and a little propeller on the back. I've done both of those. In neither was I the pilot. I was the passenger. And it is like sitting on a go-kart because there's just the frame, the metal, a lightweight aluminium metal frame. And you know that if something goes wrong, there's no way out of that. You are going to die. I had a lovely, lovely trip in a microlight, which was great. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to go back into the video box. And no, we're not going to play lovely Adrian's film again. Sorry about that, Adrian. I just sort of went a bit wrong. It's time to look at books. This is the book that keeps on giving, or the man who keeps on giving us an insight to the books of the old days. Peter Lowry, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello everyone. I've got a book here that you might find interesting. It's Great Days of the Country Railway. And here's a nice old picture on the cover with how things used to be. You've got the old steam engine there, the station master there with his pocket watch and his cap. And inside, it's just, well, there's writing, but there's a lot of pictures as well. I've put a few markers in here. A lot of the stations in here have gone over the years, but some are still there. There's this one here at Great Malvern, which is still there. That picture was taken, I think, from 1950. Plenty of old pictures of the stations, how they were. There's an old colour picture of a station. I'm not too sure where that was. I'd say 1950s. And here we've got the day in the life of a country station. There's one there, and that was from 1962. Things would be a lot different now. Here's a picture from 1953, filling up with coal. There's another nice old picture of how things were. The old coaches, steam engine. Nice old station there. Here we got a nice old picture, which is still there, virtually the same as that now. That picture, I think, was from 1974. It's between Carnforth and Barrow, and it's still the same. A lovely line, that is. It carries on then from Barrow to Carlisle. And really, people always say about the settle to Carlisle lot. Settle to Carlisle being the best scenery. But I think that this one is a lot better. Barrow to Carlisle is a lot better. There's lots of old interesting stations on it. And there's the sea one side and a lot of nice scenery on the other side. There's a nice old advert. Go on the train to the Norfolk Broads, and then you can have a restful holiday on the quiet waters. Here they are, on the boat. Another old picture of how things were. A nice old interesting book. I think the book in itself was printed in. It's not. That's like the book in itself isn't particularly old. I think it's from 1986. But there are some nice old pictures and some interesting stories in it. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting. Bye.
Always interesting, Peter. Always interesting. Love your books. Love your choice of books. Fascinating pictures of the old days there on the trains. And, you know, when you go to these heritage railways, they're brilliant. They are brilliant. But there is something somewhat missing, really, isn't there? There is, I guess, it's the people. The people, when you look at those old pictures and you see the way people were dressed in the clothes, I know you get some station masters and all that, but they're modern people dressed up. They're not genuine people from that era. And I know you can't have that. You can't have it because the era's gone. So that's where sometimes those pictures, they just elicit some magic quality that stirs up the nostalgia in us. It's just amazing how that works. And it's so nice. And there you are with your collection of books, which is going to be a treasure for somebody in the future. Absolutely lovely. Absolutely brilliant. So well done. And we look forward to more of those, Peter Lowry. Love your videos. It's superb. Just going back to the comments here, I noticed there was a comment from Henry's Adventures. We were talking about time as something that kids really want more than anything else. And isn't it always the simple things, the most simple? It isn't the computers and the, you know, all this, the stuff that people shell out to think that will keep the kids happy. And Henry says there used to be a lady that visited Beaconscott with her child. She would always spend the whole visit on her mobile phone. You would see the child wanted to talk to his mother, clearly about how excited he was to see the model villages and how tiny this was, and wanted to share that. You know, when you go somewhere, isn't it nice to share it with somebody? You go somewhere on holiday with your boyfriend, girlfriend, mother, father, somebody, wife, uncle, Tom Cobley, husband, and you want to share it, don't you? You want to be, somehow it makes it better when you share it. And there we are, there's that kid. He wanted to share it, but his mother, dreadful mother, wouldn't put her phone down. It was more important to talk to somebody, disembodied person, about something that would probably wait than the child there, who you only get one go at being a child, and it's going to continue. Whatever happens you put into children, it will stay with them for the rest of their life. It is like inputting. And if you input the love and affection and the goodness into that child, you're going to have a far better output later on. But people don't seem to get that. You know, they just whack their children, they talk down to them, they, you know, have no respect for them. It's not to say that you can't have a discipline with your children. Of course, you've obviously got to teach them a whole range of worldly skills, and discipline is one of those. But it's just, that is so sad. And when I read that, I just thought, yes, you see that. And of course, living where I live near the supermarket, I often see parents and their kids going in, and some are just abysmal. And we don't seem to learn those basic things in life. And teaching children, or spending time with children, is the thing that is so important to get right, and yet we make those mistakes all the time. I wonder why that is. Lots of other brilliant comments, I have to say, elsewhere in there. Nigel Sadler says, Heritage Railways always clean and presentable, while the original would have been dirty and grimy. Absolutely. Imagine those trains coming in all day and dusk, all day and night. And the grime, they wouldn't have a time. I mean, there's a certain sense of pride that they had. There's elements that are missing from modern railways, but then of course modern railways have elements that we don't often think about, like, as you say, the cleanliness and the lack of soot. Yes, you sow what you reap, says Mike Stevens. I think that's so true. Wise words from the Vobes. Oh, you always get the vibes from the Vobes, you know. Or reap what you sow. And vote to Vobes for PM. Yes, I'll soon sort the country out. In the mother's defence, of course, Julia says, being devil's advocate perhaps, but at least she had taken the child out. That's true. That is true. I think it's very sad. Often you see this with more fathers, I am guessing, than mothers. You will see perhaps the father of a broken marriage picking up the child and taking them to the park and not knowing what to do with the child. My father was like that. He got us, my sister, in fact, my sister and I. He would we had a broken marriage, and we would go and see him. He would take us to his factory, and he made aerials, and he had these aerials that went into life jackets. So if you were in an aeroplane and it ditched in the sea and you got into a life jacket, at the time you would have in the life jacket this flexible aerial that was inside the life jacket, and as soon as it got wet it started to send out a signal, just a bleep. So you would be able to, a location signal, so you'd be able to be picked up by an aeroplane if you'd floated off. He made these, and he made them in Guildford. He had a little workshop in Guildford, and we would turn up there in this freezing cold workshop, and you would wind this plastic spiral stuff around some bits of wire joined together to make the signal, the dipole, and all of this nonsense, the wavelength. And so we would sit there with him and spend hours. He'd just put us to work, and we didn't get anything for it. And then we might go out for a cup of tea and a cream cake, you know. That was his idea. He didn't know what to do with it. But you see in the parks, often, you know, a father sitting there playing on the phone going, yeah, kick the ball, Ray, kick the ball. And it's very depressing. Henry's Events, if you want to see dirty and grimy steam trains, then go to Bosnia, that with black with soot, at the end of each day. I'm not at all surprised. Come and visit my essay. I'll show you what soot looks like. Mike Stevens says there's always two sides to the story. Maybe mum has had an important phone call. Who knows? Of course, there's always going to be that. Absolutely. Some parents just throw money at the child and yet show no real love. That's true. Once, maybe every time, but they used to visit 2 or 3 times a week, and she was constantly on the phone. Could have done with one of these aerials on MK370, says Audrey Ford. Is that the one that's vanished that nobody knows where it is? On the Korean, is it Korean Airways or someone? Yeah, could have done with one of his aerials back then. They were the good old days when, you know, you could rely on handmade. The thing was, what was worrying was people's lives depended on these aerials, that the manufacturer's children, who were like 9 and 10, were part of the manufacturing team. You wouldn't want to be around in the mid-70s, really, on an aeroplane if it ditched in the sea. It could have been me not doing it properly. It's not a thought you want to think about. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's show. We're only doing an hour each night this week. We've gone up to 9 o'clock. I hope you've enjoyed some of it. If you have, give us a thumbs up. Been lovely to spend an hour with you and keep you going. The antidote to lockdown, back again tomorrow, Wednesday night. So if you want to make us a little video about something, please do. Send it in. It can just be something about something you're interested in, or you can just tell us what you've been doing for the day. You can show us how you operate your washing machine. Doesn't really matter. Send it in on landscape, not portrait mode. The information on how to do it is in the description on YouTube. Send it to me, richard@vobes.com, via WeTransfer, and then I will fiddle it in. If you can make it 720p, then that's good. If you don't know what that means, just send it in any old how, but we'll do our best. But there we go. That's another one done. Wow, that hour went fast. Thumbs up in the beginning. Yes, sorry about that. It did go fast. But thank you for joining me. Look after yourselves. That's it for today. Thanks to Adrian and Peter Lowry for the videos. Thank you for Richard and Anis for the phone call. And to you for taking part and joining me on this wonderful time. And to Judith and Julia for making sure that everybody has behaved themselves, which is always good to know. Till next time, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.